Bro,
This is the day that Abraham saw and was glad when Messiah confronts the Pharisees. If you were the children of Abraham, you wouldn't be trying to kill me because Abraham saw my day and he rejoiced.
ooh,
This is the day.
getting
This,
goosebumps. Shalom, everybody.
Shalom, people.
Welcome. Um, as you can see, we've been working very hard. Yoshi's been working a little harder than me because, as you can see, his background his backdrop has
Yeah,
upgraded. He's got a full-blown drumming studio. Look at that,
yeah.
professional.
All this foam around me was supposed to dampen the sound a little bit, but we discovered that it didn't work as much. But my neighbors are very nice, so they didn't complain. And it
Um,
took me two full days with my wife to do everything.
can't can't you also use like egg cartons? Isn't that a thing? Don't people do that?
Nope. I mean, people do that, but that's useless.
Oh, okay, okay.
It's been scientifically proven that that's baloney.
It's a bunch of poppycock.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Yoshi over here has invested heavily in his and he doesn't the drums aren't there for like music, it's just purely for the visual aesthetic,
Yeah.
right?
I don't know. I don't play the drums.
Yeah, you hate the
Um,
drums.
I hate it. I hate it. I abhor it.
Yeah,
I want to throw up every time I look behind me.
that's crazy. Don't look behind you. No,
But
no.
for
Yeah,
the audio, for the visuals,
yeah.
nice.
So you did it just for the podcast.
Yeah, of course.
What a guy. What a gentleman.
What else?
Um,
Why else? Why what other
no,
reason
I
should I be
understand.
buying a drum set for?
Yeah. And hey, and I'm gonna give myself a little credit here. I also upgraded my background.
Yeah,
We
they
added
got
a
a
chair.
chair,
We got a chair.
a full father chair.
Yeah, I didn't even buy that chair. Shalia gave it to me. It was like,
Huh.
"Yo, you want a chair?" And I was like, "I guess." And then I brought a chair. So,
Somebody done gave me this all too. So
so we're moving up in the world.
yeah.
Anyways, back to that picture.
All right.
One thing I have a maybe what may be considered a controversial opinion. I think like most people when they drink water, they drink ice cold water,
All right.
right? I'm very particular. First of all, I'm a water snob. Okay,
Okay.
I can't. I definitely think there's a difference between the different waters that are you can buy at the store. I taste a difference. Maybe that's just me. Personally,
I
Smart
mean,
Water,
I caught COVID, so my taste
Essentia,
buds are
the
non-existent
shot.
to a certain extent.
Right. Sorry to hear that.
It's kind
Um,
of messed up.
and so I'm a bit of a water snob. But listen, the moral of the story, right? This is the whole reason we're doing this podcast, is just so people can understand. I think the best temperature to drink water at is you get cold water and you let it sit for a bit. You don't want it room temperature, but you don't want it ice cold. It's like that. It's like cool, COOL, cool water, and it
Chilled.
just chilled. It just goes down, like it just has a different
I
ambiance.
love I love cold water, like outside of a glacier cold.
Yeah.
But I always forget to put ice to form in my fridge. I always
Yeah.
forget to make ice.
Well,
So this time around, I didn't forget, but I didn't forget to put it on my picture. So
well, I will say if you did put ice in that picture, you just have like a pool on your desk. What I mean, the
yeah,
condensation.
for sure.
So it probably worked out. All right, guys, listen. Let's get to business here. Okay, we're lollygagging, we're
Mm,
yapping, we're doing everything but what we're really here to do,
yeah,
and that's dig into the word of Yahusha, right?
right.
So this is episode 7. That's a jubilee worth of episodes. I lied. That's not a jubilee.
In it. Okay, yes, episode 7, but we are in the sixth Parashá.
6 parsha. I don't know why I said jubilee. Jubilee is 49 years, right?
49. Yeah.
Hey, all the light bulbs don't work up there. More of the story. We have reached a full 7 episodes. That's big.
Yeah, it's nice.
I think this is the farthest we got because I'm gonna let you in a little secret. We had kind of started this a couple years ago, and I think we got to like the 3rd episode,
If the third.
if the 3rd. Uh, but here we are, episode 7. What a blessing. It's been super fun. So we're on episode 7, the 6th Parashá. We'll be reading through Genesis chapter 21 through 24, and then we're going to finish out Matthew, the last 2 chapters.
Right.
So that'll be super fun. Let's see what we can discover. Let's see what we get out of this. And Yoshi, who's reading here? I think
You. Last
me.
time it was me. Yeah.
Okay. So let me get this on the screen for you guys. Also, I just want to show you guys because you guys can't really see it because we got our beautiful faces in the way. But we do have. Look at this nice little picture.
Yeah.
I did not draw this. This was all the use of AI.
This
So
is
if that turns you off, I don't care. But not to worry. Our beautiful brother, Nathan
right.
from Brazil.
My
He's
father-in-law, actually.
His father-in-law is sketching us up something
Yeah.
that's in the works. It's cooking. It's in the oven. It's baking.
And it
And
is beautiful so far.
and it is so yeah, willing soon that'll be ready to go and we can use that as our main background. We're making some tweaks and adjustments. Listen, as you guys continue to watch, we're just gonna keep pouring into the pattern. We're gonna make this nice, over
Yeah.
time, yeah, willing. I mean, really, at the end of the day, what matters is the word. Everything else is just fluff. It's just this and that. We're here for the word. We're not here for backgrounds, but it's fun. It's fun to do, give kind of a creative outlet.
Right.
So it's super cool and add some kind of personality to what we're doing. Um, and I wanted to maybe think, should we give them a little sneak peek to our millions of viewers?
Yeah. That can
Let's
work
see.
because we are making memories out here.
Yeah, yeah. And you can see this is amateur hour. We're doing this live, guys. We ain't doctoring it up. We ain't
Yeah.
making it look. We're just going straight
Because
forward.
we're friends, so we cannot hide that. So we're gonna
Yeah, yeah,
talk, a little BS here, a little BS there. We're gonna have fun with it. Because who said you cannot have fun with the word, and who said you
exactly,
cannot have fun with your friends in the word? Nobody did.
exactly,
So
exactly.
why
Nobody.
can't we enjoy it?
All right, so check this out, boys and girls, if you're watching. Entire screen. I'll share this. Look at that.
There you go.
I like it. I like it. I like how I can zoom in a bit. You got the RSTNE over here.
Right?
This is supposed to be Yoshi. He's the polar bear he elected to be.
Yeah.
Little, I guess, a Kodiak bear. A bear. I mean, I don't even
Yeah.
know if you could tell the difference, but it's a
And if
bear.
you look at the facial expression, I am the crazy one because I'm always like eager.
Yeah,
And I have
yeah.
the little necklace, the little bear claw necklace that I'm not wearing now, but I should be. And you are more like laid back, more
I'm definitely the
calm.
more chill one, like the
Yeah,
more mellow. What I mean? That's
I'm
definitely
the
my vibe.
crazier one.
But yeah, give you guys a little sneak peek there. 96 degrees outside if you were curious over here in sunny South Florida. Um, so let's get into it, guys. Enough,
Let's go.
enough lollygagging. Let's get this going.
Enough of announcements.
Let's get this popped up here.
Let's rock it.
Looks beautiful. That's good. We'll start in 21. Y'all willing? You guys get something out of it? It's time to eat. Chapter 21 of Genesis. And you. Yeah, scared me. I thought someone was hunting me down. Thought someone was hunting me down. Let's get into it, guys. Chapter 21 of Genesis. And Yahuwah visited Sarah as he had said, and Yahuwah did to Sarah as he had spoken, because Yahuwah always fulfills his promises. And Sarah conceived and bore Avraham a son in his old age, at the set time of which Elohim had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son that was born to him, whom Sarah bore to him, Yitzchak, Isaac. And Abraham performed Brit Milah upon his son Yitzchak, being 8 days old, as Elohim had commanded him. And Abraham was 100 years old when his son Yitzchak was born to him. And Sarah said, Elohim has made me to laugh, so that all that hear will laugh with me. And she said, Who would have said to Abraham that Sarah would nurse children? For I have borne him a son in his old age. And the child grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast the same yom, the same day that Yitzchak was weaned. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Egyptian, whom she had birthed from Avraham, mocking, for Avraham mocking. So she said to Avraham, Cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir with my son Yitzchak. And the thing was very severe in Avraham's sight because of his son. And Elohim said to Avraham, Let it not be severe in your sight because of the lad, and because of your bondwoman. And all that Sarah has said to you, listen to her voice, for in Yitzchak shall your seed be called. And also of the son of your servant woman will I make a nation, because he is your seed. And Avraham rose up early in the boker in the morning and took bread and a bottle of water and gave it to Hagar, putting it on her shoulder, along with the child, and sent her away. And she left and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. And the water was used up in the bottle, and she cast the child under one of the shrubs. And she went and sat down opposite him, a tove way off, a good way off, about the distance of a bow shot. For she said, Let not let me not see the death of the child. And she sat opposite him and lifted up her voice and wept. And Elohim heard the voice of the lad, and the heavenly angel of Elohim called to Hagar out of the heavens, and said to her, What is the matter with you, Hagar? Fear not, for Elohim has heard the voice of the lad where he is. Arise, lift up the lad and hold him in your hand, for I will make him a great nation. And Elohim opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water, and she went and filled the bottle with water, and gave the lad drink. And Elohim was with the lad, and he grew and dwelt in the wilderness and became an archer. And he dwelt in the wilderness of Paran. And his Ima took for him an Isha, wife, out of the land of Egypt. And it came to pass at that time that Abimelech and Pichol, the chief captain of his army, spoke to Avraham, saying, Elohim is with you in all that you do. Now therefore swear to me here by Elohim that you will not deal falsely with me, nor with my son, nor with my son's son, but according to the favor that I have done to you, you shall do to me and to the land in which you have sojourned. And Abraham said, I will swear. And Abraham reproved Abimelech because of a well of water, which Abimelech's servants had violently taken away. And Abimelech said, I don't know who has done this thing, neither did you tell me, neither did I hear of it until today. And Abraham took sheep and oxen and gave them to Abimelech, and both of them made a covenant. And Abraham set 7 ewe lambs of the flock by themselves. And Abimelech said to Abraham, What do these 7 ewe lambs mean that you have set by themselves? And he said, For these 7 ewe lambs shall you take of my hand, that they may be a witness to me that I have dug this well. So he called that place Beersheba, because there both of them swore. So they made a covenant at Beersheba. Then Abimelech rose up, and Pichol, the chief captain of his army, and they returned into the land of the Plishtim, Philistines. And Abraham planted a grove in Beersheba and called there the name of Yahuwah, El Olam. And Abraham sojourned in the Philistines' land many days.
22. And it came to pass after these things that Elohim did test Abraham and said to him, Abraham. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Take now your son, your only beloved son Yitzchak, whom you love, and get into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains of which I tell you. And Abraham questioned, Nope. And Abraham prayed about it. Nope. And Abraham went to his wife and consulted with her. No. He just rose up early in the morning, obedience, and saddled his donkey, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Yitzchak his son, and cut the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up and went to the place that Elohim had told him on the 3rd day. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place far off. And Abraham said to his young men, Stay here with the donkey, and I and the lad will go over there and worship and come again to you. This is something that always stuck with me. Verse 5. But based on the wording here, it seems that Abraham never questioned their return together. It feels to me when I read it that he was faithful that much. Like, I'm not concerned about all this because I know I'm going to return with my son besides me. I know that Yahweh will provide something because he had all the other instructions from the older generations about how Yahweh operates and that He doesn't accept human sacrifices.
Right.
I'm guessing. And to me, what strikes me more about Abraham is his faith to the point of not doubting anything, despite the level of crazy that something can be. Basically, Yahuwah is telling him, "Go up and kill your son after you had him when you were 100." And he said, "Okay, let's go. Come on, Yitzchak, let's go there. Oh, we got to do something." And then he says to his servants, "Okay, you guys wait here, and then me and the boy are gonna come back." In other words, he never had the question of that not
Hmm.
happening. He always was faithful. This is what I take from this verse, like this
Yeah.
insane amount of um, faithfulness and confidence, trust that Yahuwah will provide. This has stuck with me ever since this day. Ever since I heard it first to this day.
I think when people like read this specific account, they kind of read it in isolation, right? They just read the account of Yahuwah telling Abraham that, like, yo, take your son, the son that I've been promising you for like many years, by the way, that you're gonna have. I want you to sacrifice him to me. And they read it in isolation, and they kind of don't see the full context, because in the chapter I just read, what do you see? Like, it goes into what you're saying. Like, Abraham may have not known the entirety of what Yahuwah was doing, but one, he had context. He understood that Yahuwah does not want human sacrifice. So there has to be some bigger narrative that I'm playing here. And if you guys don't know, Shaliach and Apostle Peter have a thing called the Apostle Gate. It's almost like a podcast, pretty
The
much. It's just
apostles at the gates.
Apostles at the Gates, and they do it every Monday, I think around 11 a.m. Eastern time. And Apostle Peter, I think it was 2 episodes ago, was speaking about this idea that, when Yahuwah calls you to action, or something is, you're brought some kind of conviction, that our responsibility as servants of Yahuwah is to obey immediately. And even if we don't understand what's going to be the byproduct of our obedience, and it's something like the feet move first and the heart follows, and the
Right.
mind follows. The understanding will come, like the full revelation will come in the obedience. It's not going to come every time before.
And based on the context, as you said, because Yahuwah had promised him over and over again, I'm
Correct.
going to give all this land to you and to your son's seed. So if the son has a seed, he cannot die at a sacrificial thing. So if I'm Abraham, I'm thinking, okay, even if I kill this boy, Yahuwah will resurrect him, or he will do
Right.
something. Because
Right.
this is what I see. Yahuwah cannot contradict himself. So he told me that my son is going to have children. So how can
Right.
he remained dead even though I kill him?
Right. Because in the exact chapter I just read previously, in verse 12, what does Yahuwah say to Abraham? Listen to your wife. Like, don't worry. Send this kid off. For in Isaac shall your seed be called. So he knew that Yahuwah could not break his promise.
Right.
So he may have not understood exactly what was going to happen, but he did understand that there's no that this he probably had in his mind, like, this is going to be something symbolic. There's going to be more to this than I understand, and it'll be revealed to me in my obedience as I walk down the path that Yahuwah is telling me to go down. While I'm walking there, that the full understanding will come. Right.
And I can we can translate this to Genesis 21:6. Be fruitful and multiply. For us to be fruitful and multiply, we need to be married, right?
Hmm.
And then Yahuwah said further, "It's not good for men." He said before that, "It's not good for men to be alone." Um, okay, so if it's not good for men to be alone, why am I alone? I asked myself the same question like 2 years ago. And translating to this concept here, Yahuwah told us that it's not good for men, humans, to be alone. And then he proceeded to give Adam a helpmate, his woman. Technically, Adam didn't have to do anything. He just waited on the promise. He waited on Yahuwah's will. So, bringing that to our context nowadays, stop with this hunting mentality that you need to hunt your wife, that you need to find her and conquer her as if it were Napoleon. No, technically, if Yahuwah wants to give you something, he will give you something. And
Hmm.
I'm going to give you my testimony. This drum set right here, you guys see? Somebody gave that to me. I didn't pay for one single penny. The sword my wife gave me, the axe I bought, but the drum set, which was my dream instrument, somebody gave it to me. I received a donation for the exact price of the drum set plus the cymbals. So, my point here, and what I'm trying to say, is that if Yahoo has promised you something, you technically don't need to do anything about it. You just wait for the
Mhm.
promise. Because we have this tendency of thinking that Yahuwah will necessarily fulfill his promises through us. And that's not all the time the case,
Mhm.
because he doesn't need us to do anything. So he said he's going to give you something or do something for you. Just wait. Wait on Yahuwah. Be still and wait. Because what can happen if you do otherwise is that you put yourself in Yahuwah's path and you become the hindrance for the promise to happen because you are too busy trying to fulfill it yourself.
Correct. Correct. And the only thing I would add is, like, and Yoshi's correct in the sense of, we'll definitely, very oftentimes, like us as human beings, we'll try to make things happen on our own terms. And whenever you're trying to make things happen on your own terms, oftentimes you're gonna mess things up because you're
Right.
using your earthly wisdom instead of Yahuwah's wisdom, right? But in that waiting, and Yoshi, correct me if I'm wrong, which I believe I'm not. Just to add more context to what you're saying, it's not literally just sit in your chair and then just like, any day now, my wife is just gonna like fall in my lap. You're doing things in that process, but what you're doing is like you said, you're not going out and going into the places trying to find your wife. You're preparing yourself. You're putting
Right.
yourself in the position to receive that blessing, right?
Pretty much
Because
you prepare yourself. You don't try to do it yourself.
right, you prepare yourself to receive it. If you're waiting on a wife that Yahuwah has given you, your job, like she says, not to go out into the world and start interviewing every woman you see, but to make yourself the husband so that when Yahuwah sees, okay, he has now done the work to prepare himself to be the husband I need him to be for this particular woman, she will enter your life, right?
Right.
And that goes for anything. If you have a calling in your life to be in some kind of ministry or to do this or to do that, you need to prepare yourself in that process, not by showing up to every church and every congregation and every whatever and saying, hey, I'm here to be the pastor. It doesn't work like that. You have to subject yourself to be a servant first, and
Yep.
through that servitude you grow and you progress and you become you grow into a position where now you're ready to start fulfilling that calling.
Right, and it happens in every area of life. Let's say Yahuwah said, and he did say, we are the head, not the tail. Right? Everybody agree with that? So that does that necessarily mean that I need to work 25 hours a day, 8 days a week to become a millionaire just because Yahuwah said that? Not necessarily, because maybe your calling is never to be a millionaire, but you are going to be the head and not the tail, not lacking anything and helping more than you gather. Does that mean that I need to be sitting down on my couch playing Fortnite and eating Cheetos all day because Yahuwah will provide? No, because it is written, the man that doesn't work should not eat, and he is worse than an infidel. So the point that I'm trying to say, and me and Nehemiah are trying to balance, because everything needs to be pointed out with a balanced approach, is that you do what is your responsibility, but
Exactly.
don't try to fulfill your own promises. I mean, Yahuwah's promises to you, because he doesn't need you to do anything. He
Mhm.
does his work through people because he designed it that way, not because he needs it. And let's say Yahuwah comes to me through somebody, and he said, "Okay, you're gonna have a ministry and this, that, and the other." And okay, now I gotta get a place, and I gotta move to Ethiopia to preach to people. Calm down, prepare yourself. So when Yahuwah tells you to go, you're locked and loaded with your backpack on your back.
Right.
That's it. Don't try to fulfill Yahuwah's promises because A, you don't have his resources, and B, you don't know the timing that he has prepared.
Right.
Just be prepared.
Exactly. Beautiful.
Verse 4. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place far off. And Abraham said to his young men, "Stay here with the donkey, and the lad will go over there and worship and come again to you." And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it upon Yitzchak his son. And he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and they went both of them together. And
I just
Yitzchak,
want to, and
uh,
I'm sorry, but I don't know if we've ever talked about this or if you've noticed this, but I find it interesting how Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and put it on Isaac, and that I don't want to jump too far ahead, but when you what you'll come to realize, and if you don't notice this yet, if you're like brand new, what this is all representing is really Yahusha's sacrifice,
yeah,
right? And this is going to, because in time, and I mean, like the account of Isaac, and it's been around for thousands of years. Like this is like not new, so we're not really like spoiling anything.
right,
But the idea being that this is going to be a representation of Yahusha being the perfect sacrifice, because you'll see in the end that
precisely.
obviously Isaac isn't sacrificed. But this idea that Abraham took the wood and put it on Isaac, who's supposed to be kind of the metaphorical imagery of Yahusha, and what does Yahusha do, which we'll read here in a little bit in the renewed covenant portion, is that what does Yahusha do? He carries his execution stake, the wood, upon him on the way to be executed, to be that
The
sacrifice.
wood of his own sacrifice,
Correct.
precisely mirrored here. And
Hmm.
this is the day of Abraham. This is the day that Abraham saw and was glad when Messiah confronts the Pharisees. If you were the children of Abraham, you wouldn't be trying to kill me because Abraham saw my day and he rejoiced.
Ooh,
This is the day.
I'm getting
This
goosebumps.
this is the day that Abraham saw, the day of the sacrifice, that Yahuwah would provide his own lamb. We wouldn't have to do nothing.
Amen. Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
Baruch Hashem Yahuwah. So, verse 6. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid upon Yitzchak his son. And he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and they went both of them together. And Yitzchak spoke to Abraham his father and said, My father. And he said, Yes, my son. And he said, See, the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? And Abraham said, My son, Elohim will provide himself the lamb for the burnt offering. So they went both of them together. This is what I'm talking about. Faith. Son, relax.
But it's
9.
even beautiful too, because you see Abraham, and you don't see it explicitly said in the text, but you see that through Abraham's obedience and through his walk, he's leading by example. Because
Right,
you didn't see Isaac pitching a fit, like, bro, what are you talking about, dude? I don't understand. Even Isaac, as young as he was, he understood that. He's like, oh, he's teaching his son, to walk as well, just like as he's walking by example.
right,
So Isaac himself even understands this process. So you're never too young to understand the scriptures, to understand this promise, to understand what Yahuwah is doing.
right. And according to what we see in the Torah, the children would read. They would be there while the whole Torah was being read through the 7 days of the Feast of Tabernacles and the Feast of Sukkot. So children, there is no, oh, he's too young to understand. No, Yahuwah doesn't know boundaries as we know them. So I like saying this because I've seen people teaching kids in other areas, not spiritually related, but I'm an English teacher and I taught in school. So I saw my coworkers teaching kids, and it feels like they treat kids as if they were stupid. And to me, that never sat well with me. Because if you treat them as people, showing the due respect and instructing them, you're going to expand their creativity, and also you're going to expand their innate abilities instead of being chopping everything up with silly cartoons all the time. So Yahweh doesn't know boundaries, man. And in our congregation we've seen little kids like Julia. She's 9 or 10 if I'm not mistaken, and she asked her parents to accept Yahusha publicly in front of people. And I know because I was translating her while she was speaking, it felt like a grown woman was speaking clearly, like with knowledge, with her own personality showing up. So this is why I'm talking about myself. This is not scripture. I'm talking about my opinion now. I don't believe that we should be teaching children any differently from from what we teach adults, in the sense that we don't sugarcoat things and we don't treat them as stupid. We don't treat them as dumb because they are not dumb. They are just, younger. They don't have as much experience as we have as adults, but they are not less capable either. So this is what I believe, that the Torah, the scriptures, they're not only for grown folk, because even children are saved.
Amen.
Yahusha said that my kingdom is for these little children, and if you reject any of these little ones, you are rejecting me. So
Amen.
this is my perspective. It may be a little twisted because I'm not a father yet, but I've seen people working with kids for far too long, and that's the reality I could grasp from the whole thing.
And Yoshi taught me English. So if you're wondering how does Nehemiah know English so well, he taught me English.
I mean, I mean, I'm learning a bunch of slangs, so I hope that counts. All right, so let's keep going. Verse 8. And Abraham said, my son, Elohim will provide himself the lamb for the burnt offering. So they went both of them together. And they came to the place that Elohim had told him about. And Abraham rebuilt an altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Yitzchak his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched out his hand, and took the knife to kill his son. And the Malach, the messenger, the angel, Malach Yahuwah, not the messenger of Yahuwah, called to him out of the heavens and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, here I am, here am I, my master. Hineni in Hebrew. And he said, lay not your hand upon the lad, neither do anything to him. For now I know that you fear Elohim, seeing you have not withheld your son, your only beloved son, from me.
And this is beautiful because this is in my mind, this is exactly how it goes, right? Because we all know that to every man is appointed death and then the judgment.
Hebrews
So
9:27. To every man is appointed death and then the judgment.
correct. And what do we see here? That with our faith in Yahuwah, in Yahusha, right? That when that judgment comes, when it is our turn to die, because of his sacrifice, right? Because who is the Malak Yahuwah? It's not just some
Yahusha,
generic angel. It's not some, it's not Gabriel. It's not
Michael.
Enoch. It's not Michael. It's not Jimmy next door, Jimmy John. You know what I mean? It's Yahusha. So Yahusha intercedes for us, and because of him, we don't have to experience the second death, the eternal death.
I mean,
So it's beautiful. You see that imagery so clear here and so beautiful because it is not just a generic angel. It is Yahusha interceding in this moment and saying, not to worry, for I will provide a sacrifice, and which will eventually be him later on in time. And it's just beautiful. It's beautiful.
precisely. In other words, like, don't do anything to this child because technically I'm supposed to be doing
Hmm.
the sacrifice. So chill out. You done performed the Shakespearean play that I wanted you to perform, and now all the next generations are going to understand the sacrifice even before I come, thousands of years later. 13. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and saw behind him a ram caught in the thicket by its horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered it up for a burnt offering instead of his son. And Abraham called the name of that place Yahuwah Yireh. And as it is said to this Yom, on the mountain Yahuwah is and will be seen. So it's not Jehovah Jireh, it's Yahuwah Yireh. Yirah, if you put the actual Hebrew, because there is no E in Hebrew, is Ah. All the A, E, U. These are the vowels of Hebrew. So technically, it's not Torah; it's Torah. But we're not gonna go down that deep rabbit hole. But Yahuwah Yireh, and that's important because, as we have been trying to tell you, the name is incredibly important. How can you love somebody you don't know the name of? It's undoable. It's not feasible. And I wanted to say, because in this gladdens my heart to a certain extent, that people in the Christian movement in the Christian movement in Christianity have been growing up to talking and saying Jehovah, which is already better than God, but is a first step. But that shows to me that Yahuwah is moving in people to start introducing them the same Hebrew roots that he introduced to us. Not that we are any special, but more people are getting it. More people are being a part of it, becoming acquainted with that reality, and that gladdens my heart a lot because the name of Yahuwah is one of the biggest prizes a human being can receive. And according to a lot of the passages in the book of Psalms, worship is truly and deeply entangled with the name. We are normally, when you go to the book of Psalms and you see worship Yahuwah, make a joyful noise to his name is normally name related. So it's very important. And
Hmm.
that means Yahuwah provides, and also Yahuwah will be whatever it is that you need him to be.
Amen. It's beautiful because you just see this restoration and you see the blindness and the deafness being
Right,
healed. It's awesome.
right.
It's amazing.
Yeah, as Matthew 5, the Nehemiah read for us, the Mount of Reversals. Yahusha reversing every single curse that mankind has already went through. 16. And said, 15. And the Malach Yahuwah called to Abraham out of the heavens the second time. The second time, the second coming, because the first coming is to provide himself as the sacrifice. And the second coming is, by myself I have sworn, says Yahuwah, because you have done this thing and have not withheld your son, your only son, that in the blessing I will bless you, and in multiplying I will multiply your seed as the stars of the heavens and as the sand that is upon the seashore. And your seed shall possess the cities and gates of its enemies. And in your seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, mixed, because you have obeyed my voice. So in the second proclamation, in the second calling of Yahusha to Abraham, we see the spreading out of our people, the increasing, the physical multiplicity of our people. And no, we are not talking about a new entity called the church. The church was never to be born. The church is not biblical, and I know it may be hard to hear that. I know it may sound harsh, but that's the stone cold truth. The church doesn't exist. And Yahuwah is talking about the physical multiplicity of the seed of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, fulfilled afterwards in Ephraim, Joseph's son. And we're not going to get there now, but we're going to get there eventually. The point that I'm
Hmm.
trying to make is this is not talking about a new entity called the church. This is talking about the physical seed, the physical descendants of Abraham, and not only them, but through Messiah. And we see this in the book of Romans, chapter 6. Through Messiah's sacrifice in his blood, anybody can become an Israelite. You need to accept Messiah and walk according to his path. But
Hmm.
we're not talking about metaphorical people, the spiritual Israel, as some people call themselves. This promise is a physical promise for a physical multiplication of physical sperm. We are talking about real people. And the real Israel is not all black, is not all white, is the coat of many colors of Joseph. Racism is flat out stupidity. Yahuwah doesn't preach racism. And those of you of the KKK that use the Bible to prove that you are superior, you are just dumb or ignorant. Ignorant if you don't know better, dumb if you choose to be ignorant. So the point is, we are talking about real Israel that is both physical and spiritual. Because as I said before, through the blood of the Lamb, that is the spiritual part, you need to enter into a physical people. Got it?
Amen. And a beautiful connection I just thought of here with this idea that what Yahuwah is saying, especially in verse 16, right? He says, by myself have I sworn, says Yahuwah, because you have done this thing and have not withheld your son, your only son. And it continues on to say, if he's basically, this is like the embodiment of what Yahusha says in Matthew 16. Okay, when he's speaking about, um, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his execution sake and follow me. For whoever will save his life shall lose it, and whoever will lose his life for my sake will find it. And we see the embodiment of that in this depiction of Avraham taking Isaac up to be metaphorically sacrificed, because he didn't try to save his own life, right? How many men would be like, no, 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 I'm not gonna die, I'm not gonna die. Well, he may have prolonged the inevitable and pushed it away for a later date, but he would have lost his life, which is through Yahusha, which is this blessing. But because he was willing to lose his life for Yahusha, he received his actual life, which is the promise that Yahuwah gave to him, and the multiplication of his seed, and the spreading of that seed throughout the nation, being the father of many nations, because he did not elect to preserve his life, but to give it up for the sake of Yahuwah.
Verse 19. So Abraham returned to his young men, and they rose up and went together to Be'er Sheva. And Abraham dwelt at Be'er Sheva. And it came to be after these things that it was told Abraham, saying, See, Milcha, she has also borne children to your brother Nahor. Hus his Bachor, and Bus his brother, and Kemual, the Abba of Aram, and Chesed, and Hazo, and Pildash, and Idlap, and Bethual, and Bethual begot Rivka. These eight Milcha did bear to Nahor, Abraham's brother. And his concubine, whose name was Reumah, she bore also Teva, and Gaham, and Tahash, and Ma'acha.
All right, chapter 23. And Sarah was 127 years old. These were the years of the life of Sarah. And Sarah died in Kiriath Arba, the same as Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and weep for her. And Abraham stood up from before his dead and spoke to the sons of Heth, saying, I am a stranger and a dweller with you. Give me a possession for a burial place with you, that I may bury my dead out of my sight. And the children of Heth answered Abraham, saying to him, Hear us, my master, you are a mighty prince among us. In the choicest of our sepulchres, bury your dead. None of us shall withhold from you his sepulchre, so that you may bury your dead. And Abraham's, and which is really interesting because you can even see Abraham had respect not just from the people of his own house, but even that of the nations,
Right?
those who may have not even been in covenant with Yahuwah. You know, the fact that the people, I mean, they're saying like, look, not even we may not be of your house, but dude, we respect you. You can have any of these houses. That
Yep.
any tomb you want, you can take. None of us are going to deny it
And
from you.
what does the book of prophets Proverbs say? When the ways of a man are pleasing to Yahuwah, he make even his enemies to have peace with him.
Hmm.
So in other words, when we are obedient, when we actually walk like children of Yahuwah, we have favor amongst everybody.
Amen.
I've seen that firsthand. I'm sure Nehemiah has seen that firsthand in his own life.
For sure.
And besides our own lives, we've seen that with people of our congregation of like-minded faith and like-minded thought processes.
Amen. 7. And Abraham stood up and bowed himself to the people of the land, even the children of Heth. Excuse me. And he communed with them, saying, If it be your mind that I should bury my dead out of my sight, listen to me and inquire for me to Ephron, the son of Zohar, that he may give me the cave of Machpelah, which he has, which is at the end of his field. For as much money as it is worth, he shall give it to me for a possession for a burial place among you. And Ephron dwelt among the children of Heth, and Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham in the audience of the children of Heth, even all those that went in at the gate of his city, saying, No, my master, hear me. The field I give you, and the cave that is in it, I give it to you. In the presence of the sons of my people, I give it to you. Bury your dead. And Abraham bowed himself before the people of the land. And he spoke to Ephron in the audience of the people of the land, saying, But if you will give it to me, please hear me. I will give you money for the field. Take it from me, and I will bury my dead there. And Ephron answered Abraham, saying to him, My master, listen to me. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that between you and me? This is like two billionaires just
Yeah,
talking. Like, dude, this is like $1 million field, bro. What? That's pocket change, bro. We ain't worried about it. What is that between you and me? Bury therefore your dead. And Abraham listened to Ephron, and Abraham weighed for Ephron the silver, which he had named in the presence of the sons of Heth, 400 shekels of silver, current money with the merchant. And you see, to an extent, I always wondered, like, why is Abraham always so consistent on like or persistent? And when someone's like, dude, I'm gonna give you this field, don't worry, don't. But he always, you see this numerous times throughout Genesis. He's always like, he gives them either the ox, he gives them the lambs, or in this case, he gives them the silver. And this is me kind of reading into it, but I think it just shows Abraham's wisdom that perhaps Ephron would never go back on that covenant. Like he gave it to him, but you have no idea what his sons or his future generations will say. You know what
right.
I'm saying? They'll be like, hey, my granddad Ephron, he may give this field, but there's no money, there's nothing, there's no
There's no
transaction made.
paper,
I'm gonna come take this back.
right?
So you see Abraham saying, like, it's just the wisdom that, like, no, I'm not gonna even let anyone have the opportunity to take what is rightfully mine, or
Yep.
in essence. So it's
And
a smart thing
also,
to do.
that goes to show Yahuwah's provision. Like, in other words, I don't want you to give me. I want to prove to you that my Elohim Yahuwah can provide for me. And here's
Hmm.
the proof.
Mm-hmm.
And also that translates to us today, and we've heard Shaliach Moshe speaking about this extensively. That how come we say we are Israel and we say that Yahuwah is with us, but our congregations are basically renting from churches the spaces. How does that happen? Either is Yahuwah with us or he is with them. And if he is with us, why doesn't he provide for us? That shows a lack of faith, or what we were speaking before, the eagerness that is not bad, but sometimes we get in the way of Yahuwah of doing his own will, of doing his own things. And as Nechemyah said, let's say a pastor gives me a building to build like he rents me the building and he doesn't charge me for anything. And then he passes, his son is now in power and say, okay, I want $3,000 a month. No, but your father was not renting. Okay, but my father's dead. Where is the agreement? Where is the paper? Oh, there is none? Okay, give me the money. So that happens a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, a lot of people are not true to their word, and we are not supposed to be expecting any truthfulness from people we don't know. And Yahuwah was dealing with pagans; he knew that. Not to say that all pagans are terrible crooks, but it is less likely to have a crookery happen if you have the papers, if you have the document, if you've paid for it. It's
Mm-hmm.
wisdom, as the Nehemiah was saying.
17. In the field of Ephron, which was in Machpelah, which was before Mamre, the field and the cave that was in it, and all the trees that were in the field, that were in all the borders all around, were made sure unto Avraham for a possession in the presence of the children of Heth before all that went in at the gate of his city. And after this Avraham buried Sarah his wife in the cave in the field of Machpelah before Mamre. The same is Hebron in the land of Canaan. And the field and the cave that is in it were deeded to Avraham for a possession of a burial place by the sons of Heth. So you see, I guess kind of feeding into what we were talking about, you see it was deeded to him. It was physically, there's now a contract. No one can come and, well, I mean, anyone can come and say anything, but he's got the paper and it's like,
Yeah.
then he actually has like if someone tries to take his field, he can fight for it because he could prove like, yo, this is mine, dude. So he's,
Yeah.
you know,
If it goes to Denver's court, like you can prove, yo, your honors, here's mine. I killed him, but because he was, trespassing my field. Because in those days it was not like two words, like it was like a word and a knife, like that.
oh, man.
24. And Abraham was old and well stricken in age, and Yahuwah had blessed Abraham in all things. And Abraham said to his eldest servant of his house that ruled over all that he had, please put your hand under my thigh, and I will make you swear by Yahuwah, the Elohayim of the heavens and the Elohayim of the earth, that you shall not take a wife for my son of the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I dwell. But you shall go to my country and to my family, and take a wife for you, my son Yitzchak. Question, Nehemiah, is that still a thing today? That we need to go to our Israelite family to get a wife for us, or I can go down to Hooters and get one of the chicks that are there, waitresses?
Well, Hooters isn't what it used to be, for one. And I've never been to a Hooters, so I'm just making that up. But I heard they got good wings. So I'd only go to Hooters, yeah, forbid. Probably shouldn't be there at all, but I'd just get the wings there. But no, you shouldn't get a wife from Hooters. You should get a wife from your people. And it doesn't have to be your cousin. It has to be somebody who is in covenant with Yahuwah, because you shouldn't be unequally yoked with an unbeliever, because that's only going to bring despair and it's going to bring an end to your marriage. You want somebody that you can walk with and that you don't have to, it's not going to be a dead weight to you. It's not, as you're moving towards Yahuwah, they're not dragging and pulling you back. So when you take 2 steps forward, you take 8 back. And then you have to redo that work that you already put in. So if you want a successful marriage, one that has going to have the highest likelihood of success, because listen, let's be honest, you can marry someone who is under the covering of Yahuwah, was in your congregation. It could still, Yah forbid, end up in disaster. But to give yourself the best chance, you want to marry the woman not just in your congregation, but one who Yahuwah has shown you Not because she's pretty to look at, not because you guys can have, you guys both like cheesecake. Those things are nice, but listen, beauty fades with time, or beauty changes with time. It's not like, listen, we're all gonna get old and wrinkly. We're gonna lose our hair. We're gonna get gray hair. You need a strong foundation to
Right.
build your marriage upon. That when the waves come, when the storm comes, it doesn't just get taken away in a flood.
You are ready
So
for it.
if you want a successful marriage, and I'm speaking as a person who's not married yet, but I've seen successful marriages. I'm in a congregation, and I've seen people who have been married not for 1 year, for 2 years, for 20, but for 30, 40 plus years. And they have a successful marriage. They have fruit that has come out of that marriage.
Right.
And if you want to succeed and you want a marriage that is not just successful, but pleasing to Yahuwah, his definition of success, you want to marry someone who you're equally yoked with. Because I can speak to you from experience, because I've made that error. You do not want to bind yourself to a woman who you are not equally yoked with, who doesn't have the same faith as you. Because you marry someone who doesn't even believe in Yahuwah. They're an atheist, they're a Muslim, they're a Buddhist, they're a Hindu, they're this, that, and the other. You know, you can hope that one day they come around, but that's all it is just a hope, and there's
Right.
no guarantee. And if they never do, I mean, I'm sure there's always an exception to the rule and things happen, but don't bank on that, because you're playing a gamble, and you're gambling with your life and your own salvation, because
Yep.
in all likelihood that person's going to drag you out of the faith.
That's
They're not you're
way
not
more likely.
you're not going to drag them in. They're going to drag you out, or at
Point
least
being, go ahead.
at a bare minimum, you're not going to be everything you could be.
Point being, if you need to stop your walk to rescue somebody, that ain't your spouse.
Hmm. Exactly.
And how do I know that? Can you see this? It worked with me. Praise be to Yahuwah. I've went through the gauntlet, and me and my wife came out of it successfully. We married under Yahuwah's covering with the supervision of the elders, under the counseling of my spiritual father, Yoshiyahu and Nechemyah, and here we is. Listen, guys, it works.
What is that verse in? It's in Second Corinthians, no?
Which one?
Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers.
2 Corinthians 6:14.
Okay, so what's Second Corinthians
Yeah, yeah.
6:14? I just want to read to you guys, because this is really important, especially, listen, to be transparent with you guys, we're catering this to people who are new to the walk.
Right.
Anybody can get something out of it, but people who are just coming in, who are new, who are young believers, who you marry is going to be one of besides salvation and accepting Yahushua, is going to be one of the most important decisions you make in your life, because this is the person you're going to spend your entire life with. And
Right.
this is going to be the person who influences the children if you guys have them. So who you marry, it's not just don't just leave it up to, oh man, this person gets me excited. You if when a woman is sent to you from Yahuwah, that's going to happen just by nature, because Yahuwah is not going to give you someone who you're not attracted to, who you hate to be around, who isn't good for you.
Right.
6:14. Do not unite together in marriage with unbelievers, for what fellowship has righteousness with lawlessness? And what mingling has light with darkness? And what accord or covenant has Moshiach made with the devil? Or what portion has he that believes with the unbeliever? And what union has the temple of Yahuwah with idols? For you are the temple for the living Elohim, as Yahuwah has said, I will dwell in them that walk in them, and I will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. So, be careful who you make a covenant with, guys. And I'm telling you, it's I can speak from experience. Being with the wrong person or chasing after the wrong person is only going to lead to stagnation,
It's not gonna end
to
well.
backsliding, and yeah, forbid in a place where where you won't have the opportunity to come back.
Right. So verse 3 again. And I will make you swear by Yahuwah, the Elohim of the heavens and the Elohim of the earth, that you shall not take a wife for my son of the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I dwell. But you shall go to my country and to my family, and take a wife for my son Yitzchak. And the servant said to him, Suppose the woman will not be willing to follow me to this land. Do I need to bring your son again to the land from where you came? And Abraham said to him, beware that you bring not my son there again. In other words, it's better to be single than to be married wrong.
Hmm.
7. Yahuwah Elohayim of the heavens, who took me from my father's house and from the land of my family, and who spoke to me and that swore to me, saying, to your seed will I give this land. He shall send his messenger, his malach, before you, and you shall take a wife for my son from there. And if the woman will not be willing to follow you, then you shall be clear from this judgment, from this oath. Only bring not my son there again. And the servant put his hand under the thigh of Abraham, his master, and swore to him concerning that matter. And the servant took 10 camels from the camels of his master and departed. For all the items of his master one were in his hand. Let me do 10 again because I got distracted because my tiger just barked. And the servant took 10 camels from the camels of his master and departed. For all the items of his master were in his hand. And he arose and went to Mesopotamia, to the city of Nahor. And he made his camels to kneel down outside the city by a well of waters at the time of the evening, even the time that women go out to draw waters. And he said, O Yahuwah, Elohayim, of my master Abraham, please send me your blessing this day and show favor to my master Abraham. See, I stand here by the well of waters, and the daughters of men of the city, of the men of the city, come out to draw waters. And let it come to pass that the young girl to whom I shall say, please let down your pitcher, that I may drink, and she shall say, drink, and I will give you your camel's drink also. Let the same be she that you have appointed for your servant Yitzchak, and thereby shall I know that you have showed favor to my master.
And I want to point something out. When you're looking, when you're waiting to receive who Yahuwah wants you to marry, don't be afraid to be specific. Because this is how important it is that Abraham's servant didn't want to mess this up because he understood the gravity of pairing
Mm-hmm.
Isaac with the wrong woman. He's like, Yahuwah, I want to make sure this is the wife that you want to give Isaac. So I'm going to set all these prerequisites so that if these are all fulfilled, I know for a fact that the woman who does this is your woman, is the woman that you have appointed to Isaac.
Right. And it came to pass, 15, before he had done speaking, that see, Rivka came out, who was born to Bethuel, son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, with her pitcher upon her shoulder. And the young girl was very beautiful to look at, a virgin, neither had any man known her. And she went down to the well and filled her pitcher and came up. And the servant ran to meet her and said, please, let me drink a little water from your pitcher.
Sounds like you
And
need water.
yeah, I mean, I got the picture.
You got
I
the
got a
picture.
picture. And she said, drink, my master. And she hurried and let her down her pitcher upon her hand and gave him drink. And when she had done giving him drink, she said, I will draw waters for your camels also, until they have done drinking. And she hurried and emptied her pitcher into the trough, and ran again to the well to draw waters, and drew for all his camels. And the man, wondering about her, held his silence, to see whether Yahuwah had made his journey prosperous or not. And it came to pass, as the camels had done drinking, that the man took a golden earring, or half a shekel weight, and 2 bracelets for her hands, and 10 shekels weight of gold, and said, whose daughter are you? Please tell me. Is there room in your father's house for us to lodge? And she said to him, I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, that she bore to Nahor. She said moreover to him, we have both straw and fodder enough, and room to lodge. And the man bowed down his head and worshipped Yahuwah, and he said, Baruch et Yahuwah Elohayim, blessed are you, Yahuwah Elohayim of my master Abraham, who has not left my master destitute of his mercies and his truth. I was travailing in the path, and now Yahuwah has led me to the house of my master's brothers. And the young girl ran and told those of her mom's bait house and these things. And Rivka had a brother, and his name was Lavan. And Lavan ran out to the man to the well. And it came to pass, when he saw the earring and bracelets upon his sister's hands, and when he heard the words of Rivka his sister, saying, this is what the man spoke to me. Then Lavan came to the man, as he stood by the camels at the well. And he said, come in, you blessed of Yahuwah. Why do you stand outside? For I have prepared the house and room for the camels. And the man came into the house, and he undressed his camels, and gave straw and for the camels and waters to wash his feet, and the men's feet that were with him. And there was set food before him to eat, but he said, I will not eat until I have told of my errand. And he said, Speak on. And then he said, I am Abraham's servant, and Yahuwah has blessed my master greatly, and he has become great. And he has given him flocks and herds and silver and gold and male servants and female servants and camels and donkeys. And Sarah, my master's wife, bore a son to my master when she was old, and to him has he given all that he has. And my master made me swear, saying, You shall not take a wife for my son of the daughters of the Canaanites in whose land I dwell, but you shall go to my father's house and to my family, and take a wife for my son. And I said to my master, Suppose the woman will not follow me. And he said to me, Yahuwah, before whom I have my walk, will send his heavenly angel, his malach, with you and prosper your way. And you shall take a wife for my son from my family and from my father's house. Then shall you be clear from this oath when you come to my family. If they give you no one, you shall be clear from my oath. And I came this day to the well and said, O Yahuwah Elohayim of my master Abraham, if now you do prosper my way in which I go, see, I stand by the well of waters. And it shall come to pass that when the virgin comes out to draw waters, and I say to her, Please give me a little waters from your pitcher to drink. And she says to me, Drink, and I will draw for your camels too. Let therefore the same one be the woman whom Yahuwah has appointed for my master's son. And before I had done speaking in my heart, see, Rivkah came out with her pitcher on her shoulder, and she went down to the well and drew water. And I said to her, Please let me drink. And she hurried and let down her pitcher from her shoulder and said, Drink, and I'll give your camels drink also. So I drank, and she gave the camels drink also. And I asked her and said, Whose daughter are you? And she said, The daughter of Betuel, Nahor's son, whom Milcah bore to him. And I put the earring upon her face and the bracelets upon her hands. And I bowed down my head and worshipped Yahuwah and blessed Yahuwah Elohayim of my master Abraham, who had led me in the right way to take my master's brother's daughter to his son. And now, if you will deal kindly and truly with my master, tell me, and if not, tell me also, that I may turn to the right hand or to the left. Then Lavan and Betuel answered and said, This thing proceeds from Yahuwah. We cannot speak to you bad or good. See, Rivkah is before you. Take her and go, and let her be your master's son's wife, as Yahuwah has spoken. And it came to pass that when Abraham's servant heard their words, he worshipped Yahuwah, bowing himself to the earth. In other words, like the Rivkah's father and brother were like, okay, this is Yahuwah's will. Apparently, we cannot, interfere. So just take her and go away. So there was no Tinder, swiping right. There was no going to the bar. There was no dating for 3 years, having sex every day to test if that's going to be a good mate for me. No. If it is Yahuwah's will, it's going to be more perfect than you think you can make it be.
Mhm.
But you need to be faithful enough to submit yourself to the counsel of people that are older and wiser than you. And you need to humble yourself to understand that your pick may not be the correct for you.
Precisely.
That takes humbleness, that takes humility, and that takes maturity to a certain level. 52. And it came to pass that when Abraham's servant heard their words, he worshipped Yahuwah, bowing himself to the earth. And the servant brought out jewels of silver and jewels of gold and clothing, and gave them to Rivkah. He gave also to her brother and to her mother precious things. And they did eat and drink, he and the men that were with him, and stayed all night. And they rose up in the morning, and he said, Send me away to my master. And her brother and her mother said, Let the young girl stay with us a few days, at least 10. After that she shall go. And he said to them, Do not hinder me, seeing Yahuwah has prospered my way. Send me away that I may go to my master. In other words, don't second guess this thing. Either you send her with me or she stays. I'm not gonna be waiting for your indecisiveness.
Mm-hmm.
57. And they said, We will call the young girl and ask her. Like now they're trying to change their mind. 58. And they called Rivkah and said to her, Will you go with this man? And she said, I will go. And they sent away Rivkah, their sister, and her nurse, and Abraham's servant and his men. And they blessed Rivkah and said to her, You are our sister. Now become the mother of thousands of millions, and let your seed possess the gates of those who hate them. And Rivkah arose and her young girls, and they rode upon the camels and followed the men. And the servant took Rivkah and went his way. And Yitzchak came from the way of the well of Lachai Roe, for he dwelt in the south country. And Yitzchak went out to meditate in the field in the evening. And he lifted up his eyes and saw, and see, the camels were coming. And Rivkah lifted up her eyes, and when she saw Yitzchak, she was lifted from off the camel. For she said to the servant, What man is this that walks in the field to meet us? And the servant had said, It is my master. Therefore she took a veil and covered herself. And this is part of the Israelite culture, to cover for the women to be covered as a sign of the authority of her husband. So now that she is approaching her soon-to-be husband, she is already recognizing the authority that he shall have upon her. And this is why me and Nechemyah have our heads covered all the time, because this is a symbol to everybody, including the evil spirits around us, that we belong to Yahuwah, and He is our covering. And is not enough just to say it. You need to show it, because that is physical proof. And we are the head of the woman, as Yahuwah is our head. And this is all Yahuwah's hierarchy. If you want to be mad at it, if you are a feminist, I couldn't care less. The scriptures are written the way they are because Yahuwah wanted that to be. I'm not going to argue with it. I have two choices. Either I choose to be in Yahuwah's side and win, or I choose to be in the defeated side and lose. And I'm not stupid. I don't know if you are outside, but I'm not. So I'm choosing Yahuwah's side. He says for the woman to be covered, and he says that I'm supposed to be the head of the house. Here, I am. Yes, sir. 66. And the servant told Yitzchak all things that he had done. And Yitzchak brought her into his mother Sarah's tent, and took Rivkah, and she became his wife. And he loved her. And Yitzchak was comforted after his mom's death.
Amen. All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we go to the final two chapters of Matthew. When the boker had come, when the morning had come, all the main priests and
Elders.
elders of the people took counsel against Yahusha to put him to death. And when they had bound him, they led him away and delivered him to Pontius Pilate, the governor. Then Judas, who had betrayed him, when he saw that he was condemned, repented and brought again the 30 pieces of silver to the main priest and elder.
Too late, brother. Too late.
Too little, too late. Saying, I have sinned in that I have betrayed the innocent blood. And they said, What is that to us? You take care of that. First of all, he came in and repented to the wrong people.
Right.
You know what I mean? He should have repented to Yahusha, not to the priests and the elders of the
He should have.
Pharisaical class.
He should have gone to Pontius Pilate and made a scene like, "Yo, this brother here is not to be guilty. I betrayed him. Kill me."
Mm-hmm.
That is repentance.
Mm-hmm. 4, saying, I have sinned in that I have betrayed the innocent blood. And they said, What is that to us? You take care of that. And he cast down the pieces of silver in the temple and departed and went and hanged himself. And the main priest took the silver pieces and said, It is not right according to Torah to put the coins into the treasury, because it is the price of blood. And they took counsel and brought with the coins the potter's field to bury strangers in. Therefore that field is called Akel Dama to this day. Then was fulfilled that was spoken by Zechariah the prophet, saying, And they took the 30 pieces of silver, the price of him that was appraised, whom the children of Israel did appraise, and gave the silver for the potter's field, as the master Yahuwah appointed me. And Yahusha stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, saying, Are you king of the Jews? And Yahusha said to him, You have said it. And when he was accused by the main priest and elder, he answered nothing. Then said Pilate to him, Do you hear how many things they witnessed against you? And he answered him not a word, insomuch that the governor marveled greatly. Now at that time, the appointed time, the governor used to release the people a prisoner, whom they desired. And they had a notable prisoner who was almost Meshugas, which means what? Crazy, called Bar Evan, taken in a case of murder, who had been placed in a dungeon. Therefore, when they were gathered together, Pilate said to them, Whom do you wish that I release to you, Bar Evan or Yahusha, who is called the Messiah? For he knew that for envy and hatred without a cause they had delivered him. Which is, if you really think about it, is crazy that a pagan secular person He was even able to see that this man had that Yahusha uh, was innocent. There's no reason that they should be bringing it to him. But the people
Right.
who were supposed to be able to see it the most, the priests, the Pharisees, the elders, the scribes, those who read the Torah every day in the temple, they themselves still couldn't see what they were doing. That's how blind they were.
Yep.
19. When he sat down on the judgment seat, his wife sent to him, saying, "Have nothing to do with that righteous man, for I have suffered many things today in a dream because of him." But the main priest and elder persuaded the multitude that they ask for Bar Evan and destroy Yahusha. The governor answered and said to them, "Which of the two do you desire that I release to you?" They say, "Bar Evan." Pilate said to them, "What shall I do then with Yahusha, who is called the Messiah?" They all said to him, "Let him be hanged." And the governor said, "Why? What evil has he done?" But they cried out even more, saying, "Let him be hanged on a tree."
In other words, the pagan said, "Guys, you're listening to yourself speak. This guy didn't do nothing, and you want me to kill him? I mean, just for the record, because I didn't kill him, but you are. Are you sure now? Even the pagan Roman dude. Again, even the pagan Roman dude, as Nehemiah pointed out, could see Yahusha's righteousness, but
Hmm.
his people that were supposed to know everything because they were there in the culture for forever couldn't understand the difference between a righteous person and an unrighteous person. So talk about becoming the company you keep. When you are too surrounded by filthiness, you cannot see cleanliness anymore. This is why we need to abide by the light. This is why we go back to the marriage thing. You're supposed to marry light. You're not supposed to marry a dark cave. You're supposed to marry light as you are supposed to be light. And I could be happy about this forever because it changed my life. But anyway, even the pagan guy, saw that Yahushua was righteous.
Hmm. But and Yahusha taught this to us himself. He says it in Mark chapter 6. He said a prophet is never belittled except in his own country, among his own people, among his own house.
Right.
So I mean, it's happening right here, right before us.
And one of the hardest things to do is to win your family over to Yahuwah
Hmm.
because they don't see you as somebody. They see you as their brother, their son. They don't see you as a person. They see you as a relative. And that is like a world of difference.
Hmm. Exactly.
23,
Uh,
once again.
and the governor said, "Why? What evil has he done?" But they cried out even more, saying, "Let him be hanged on a tree." When Pilate saw that he could not prevail, but that rather a tumult, a ruckus, a problem was made, he took water and washed his hands before the multitude, saying, "I am innocent of the blood of this righteous. You see to it." Then answered all the people and said, "His blood be on us and our children."
This is one of the most ironic verses to me in scripture
Hmm.
because they are trying to say that they want to see his blood because they want to see him killed, but they're basically saying, let the blood of this righteous man be upon us. Let we pay for his blood. And also they are saying, let his blood be upon us and our children. In other words, in a way, this verse kind of confirms that Yahusha is the savior because basically these guys are going to have to pay for his blood, but at the same in the same token, if they repay, they can be dressed upon his blood and be righteous, declared righteous, not by their righteousness, because as we are seeing, they didn't have none, but
Hmm.
by his righteousness. And this is one of the most intriguing verses to me because it is multifactorial. It's like
Hmm.
it has multiple meanings.
Hmm. It's like it's like on the spectrum of blindness. You're so blind that it starts to wrap around and become basically
Hmm.
like you're not blind at the same time. It's weird.
Right.
26.
Hmm.
Then he released Baraban to them, and when he had scourged Yahusha, he delivered him to be impaled. Then the soldier of the governor, the horsemen of the court, took Yahusha into the common hall and gathered to him the whole band of soldiers. And they stripped him and put on him a scarlet robe. And when they had platted a
Crown.
crown of thorns, they put it upon his head, and a reed in his right hand. And they bowed the knee before him and mocked him, saying, Hail, King of the Jews! And they spit on him and took the reed and smote him on the head. And after they had mocked him, they took the robe off from him and put his own clothing on him and led him away to impale him. And as they came out, they found a man of Cyrene, Simon by name. They compelled him to bear his execution stake.
And here we go, the sacrifice of Isaac, he carrying the whole thing, his own thing.
Correct. And when 33, and when they were come to a place called Golgotha, that is to say, the place of the skull, they gave him vinegar to drink mixed with gall. And when he had tasted it, he would not drink. And they impaled him and parted his garments, casting lots, that it might be fulfilled what was spoken by the prophet. They parted my garments among them, and upon my vesture did they cast lots.
One thing. Go to 33 again.
And when they were come to a place called Golgotha, that is to say, the place of the skull.
Okay, so commentary. Why do they have to say that is to say? In other words, why are they translating the words in the own scripture itself? Because they are writing to a people that didn't speak the language.
Mm-hmm.
And this is mainly in the Greek manuscripts, because I firmly believe that the original Brit Hadashah, the original Gospels, were written in Aramaic, because it is in Matthew 13, if I'm not mistaken, that Yahusha sent his own scribes to write their own things. And they were from Judea. They didn't speak Greek. So how do we have Greek texts? Because they needed to be translated into Greek to explain the terminologies, to explain the meaning of things. This is why we see. Then when they were come to a place called Golgotha, to somebody that understands Hebrew and Aramaic, they know what it means. You don't need to say that is to say the place of the skull. They were trying to reach a broader, a wider reach of people, a wider band of people.
Mm-hmm.
Just an interesting commentary that came to my head.
Amen. Back to 36. And sitting down, they watched him there, and set up over his head his accusation written, This is Yahusha, the King of the Jews. Then were the two thieves impaled with him, one on the right hand and another on the left. And they that passed by reviled him, shaking their heads, saying, You that will destroy the temple and build it in 3 days, save yourself. If you are the son of Elohim, come down from the execution stake. And this is very similar to what Satan himself was saying when he was speaking to Yahusha at the pinnacle of the temple and the other things he brought to him. He says, hey, so you see with what spirit they're approaching this and what spirit is speaking through them, because it's the same. It's the devil himself speaking to Yahusha, like, yo, you're the son of Yahuwah. You can cast yourself from the top of this temple, and 20 million bajillion angels can come and save you.
Right.
It's probably why Yahusha calls them a generation of vipers.
Precisely. Because they are the sons of the viper.
Mm-hmm.
41.
Likewise, also the main priest mocking him with the scribes and the elders said, He saved others, himself he cannot save. If he is the king of Israel, let him now come down from the execution stake, and we will believe him. He trusted in Elohim. Let him deliver him now, if he will have him. For he said, I am Yahuwah, the son of Elohim. The thieves also, who were impaled with him, reviled him in the same way. Now from 12 noon there was darkness over all the world, over all the earth, until 3 in the afternoon. And about 3 in the afternoon, Yahusha cried with a loud voice, saying, Eli Yahuwah, lama nazaftani. That is to say, my El Yahuwah, why are you keeping me here so long?
Yeah, it's not. It has nothing to do with why have you forsaken me. It's even in the System of a Down song. Why have you forsaken me? That's not in the text. Yahuwah wouldn't forsake himself. He's not crazy in the head. His elevator goes all the way up, actually. Way too high for our own good.
Mm-hmm.
The Hebrew is lamana azaftani, not sabaktani. And you can see that in the Aramaic texts. He's not saying, why have you forsaken me? He's saying, why are you keeping me here so long? I've done it. Can you just kill me already so I can, fulfill the thing? Because it hurts, you know. I've did some research on crucifixion, how it kills you. Basically, it puts your clavicles like towards your lungs, and your lungs kind of cannot expand anymore, so you suffocate to death. That must hurt like hell. And so Yahushua say, "Okay, Father, can you please hurry up? It hurts."
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. 47. Some of them that stood there, when they heard that, they said, "This man calls for Eliyahu, Elijah." And immediately one of them ran and took a sponge and filled it with vinegar and put it on a reed and gave him to drink. The rest said, "Leave him alone. Let us see whether Eliyahu will come to save him." Seizing a lance, another pricked his side, and came out water and blood. Yahusha, when he cried again with a loud voice, he dismissed his ruach, his spirit. And see, the veil of the temple was rent in two from the top to the bottom, and the earth did quake, and the rocks rent, and the graves were open, and many bodies of the Israelite congregation that slept arose, and came out of the graves after his resurrection, and went into the set apart city, and appeared to many. Now when the centurion that they were with him, watching Yahusha, saw the earthquake and those things that were done, they feared greatly, saying, "Truly, this was the Son of the Almighty." And many women were there looking from far off, who followed Yahusha from Galilee, attending to him. Among them were Miriam from Magdala, and Miriam the mother of Jacob, and Joseph, and also the Ima of Zabdi's children. When the evening had come, there came a rich man of Ramathaim, named Joseph, who also who also himself was Yahusha's disciple. He went to Pilate and asked for the body of Yahusha. Then Pilate commanded the body to be delivered. And when Joseph had taken the body, he wrapped it in a clean linen cloth and laid it in his own new tomb, which he had cut out in the rock. And he rolled a great stone to the door of the tomb and departed. And there was Miriam from Magdala and the other Miriam opposite the tomb. Now the next day that followed the day of the preparation, the main priest and Pharisee came together to Pilate, saying, "Sir, remember that the deceiver said while he was yet alive, 'After 3 days I will rise again.' Command therefore," which is crazy because this whole time these Pharisees they don't believe. So you can kind of start to see like they might be, and this is me kind of reading the text, they might be saying like, "Oh wait, hey, we might have messed up here, dude. Just to make sure, let's send some guards over there because he did say he was going to rise on the third day."
I mean, he was crazy, but what if?
Yeah, exactly. 63, saying, "Sir, we remember that the deceiver said while he was yet alive, 'After 3 days I will rise again.' Command therefore that the tomb be made secure until the third day, lest the disciples come by night and steal him away and say to the people, 'He is risen from the dead,' so that the deception shall be worse than the first ones." Pilate said to them, "You have a guard. Go your way. Make it as secure as you can." So they went and made the tomb secure, sealing the stone and setting a guard.
Trying to impede, uh, the loss of their power.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, like if if this dude starts walking again, we're cooked. So even if he tries, he will be locked up there forever if he rises again.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy
Precisely.
stuff.
Precisely.
28 and last chapter of the day. Moreover, after Shabbat, the 15th of the month of Aviv, that is the first month, it being just before dawn, toward one of the weekly Sabbaths, Shabbats, came Miriam of Magdala and the other Miriam to see the tomb. So I challenge you, with the drumstick in my hand, I challenge you to find the words first, day, and week in this verse, in any manuscript, and I will give you nothing. But I challenge you anyway. Show me, show us, show anybody. Do something. You are not going to find it. And unless you understand the appointed times of the Torah, this makes absolutely no sense. How did they come how did they go from one of the Shabbats to the first day of the week? That is beyond me. But they did it. If you go to any Greek manuscript, can you pull this up on Bible Hub?
I sure can.
So I don't be yapping without any sources, because I'm not a deceiver here.
Miatan Sabaton.
I didn't come to my studio to fool any of y'all.
All right. Let me switch
Matthew
that.
28 1.
Zoom in a little bit.
A little bit more. That's good. So, obsede Sabaton. Okay, here we have it. Sabaton. And what is the Greek word for Shabbat? There ain't none, because Greeks don't understand Shabbat. So they basically grab it.
It's a
Why the
Hebraic principle.
yeah? What is the English word for horchata? There is none, because
Delicious.
it doesn't exist. Which is, yeah, it doesn't exist. What is the common word for big man in the league? Giannis Antetokounmpo, because it doesn't exist in American sports anymore. So the point I'm trying to make here is that first we start with after then the Shabbat, Sabbaton, after one of the Shabbats, and we know this is the first day of unleavened bread, the 15th of Aviv.
The
But
day
I'm not
right
gonna,
after
yeah,
Passover.
yeah, the day right after Passover. That is a Wednesday. I'm not gonna get into too much detail because that can be very confusing, especially to the people that never heard this before. But let's go. Let's continue. Opse de Sabbaton te epifoscuse. After then the Shabbat, it being dawn towards, can you see the first day of the week? You see these two things here? We have the word mian. Click on that 1520, please. Okay, go ahead. Go up a little bit. Okay, so we went from Mia to Heis. Two completely different words, because Heis is one.
Absolute one.
Mia means one of many. So go back. Mian and Heis are two different things. Heis is absolute one. Mia is one of many. So after the Shabbat of the 15th of Aviv, being towards the towards the dawn of the Shabbat, which one? The weekly Shabbat, the Saturday, the seventh day. So Ethan, Mariam, and then it goes on. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that first, day, and week are not here. What is the Greek word for day? Hemera. Can you see hemera in that portion? No, you can't. Can you come up with a Greek word for week? Is not here. The Greek word for first is protos. Is not neither mian nor hais. It's protos. Have you ever heard of prototype being the type before the actual product? That comes from the Greek protos, first. None of this bullcrap is here. So how did it become first day of the week? That is beyond me. But I have a wild guess, uneducated guess, that is because of the lying pen of the scribes.
Precisely.
So this is why we read the RSTNE, the Restoration Scriptures, not because they change or add into the text, but because the effort is to restore the actual original material that we have to its best purpose. So
Mm-hmm.
for all those of you that say that resurrection was on Sunday, you are basically attending a pagan religion all in itself, because it is not biblical. Oh, but it is in my KJV. Yes, also the KJV produced Revelation 1:6. We are all kings and priests. Okay, that's all well and good, but how come Hosea 1:11 says that we are going to be one people under one king? And how come 1 Peter 2:8 and 9 says that we are a kingdom of priests, not of kings? So the version you read, it's very important to your growth and development as a disciple. And I'm going to
Precisely.
stop right here.
Precisely. And if you're curious, in the YouTube channel, there's a link to the Your Arms of Love to Israel website. And you have all these teachings. You have a teaching that Shaliach did upon this specific subject. He has a whole page dedicated to it, amongst many other teachings. So if you want to study, if you want to, do your due diligence and to rightly divide the word, go on that website and explore in all those resources. And through there, you'll find the YouTube channel where he has not just like, on the website, you're only going to see just like the document. But if you go on his YouTube channel, you'll see his actual teaching on it, where he expands on it even more. So feel free to get the most out of those resources.
Yes, sir. So verse 1 again. Moreover, after Shabbat, the 15th of Aviv, it being just before dawn, toward one of the weekly Shabbats, Saturday, came Miriam of Magdala and the other Miriam to see the tomb. And see, there was a great earthquake, for the heavenly angel of the Master Yahuwah descended upon from the Shamayim, the Shamayim, the heavens, and came and rolled back the stone from the door and sat upon it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothing white as snow. And for fear of him, the guards did shake and became as dead men. They fainted. And the heavenly angel answered and said to the women, Fear not, for I know that you seek Yoshiyahu who was impaled. He is not here, for he is risen. And he said, Come, see the place where the Master Yahusha had lain, and go quickly and tell his disciples that he is risen from the dead. And see, he goes before you into Galilee. There shall you see him. See, I have told you. And they departed quickly from the tomb with fear and great joy, and did run to bring his disciples word. We are talking about two females. And as they went to tell his disciples, see, Yahushua met them, saying, Shalom, may the name of Yahuwah deliver you. And they came and held him by the feet and worshipped him. Then said Yahushua to them, Be not afraid. Go tell my Israelite brothers that they go into Galilee, and there shall they see me. Now, when they were going, see, some of the guards came into the city and showed the main priests all the things that were done. And when they were assembled with the elders and had taken counsel, they gave large money to the horsemen soldiers, saying, Say that his disciples came by night and stole him away while we slept. So, like, if you were sleeping, how the hell do you know that he was stolen? Do you have security cameras? Like, how can you conjure that idea? Do you have any proof of that?
I have that Ring doorbell on the
Yeah,
tomb, bro.
come on, man. You have the motion detectors there. 14. And if this comes to the governor's attention, we will persuade him and protect you. So they took the money and did as they were taught. And this saying is commonly reported in secret among the Yahudim, the Jews, until this day. Then the 11 disciples went away into Galilee, into a mountain where Yahushua had appointed them. And when they saw him, they worshipped him. But some still doubted, like, I don't know about this dude.
Mhm.
And Yahushua came and spoke to them, saying, All power is given to me in the heavens and in the earth. Go therefore and make disciples of all the nations, doing mikvah upon them, doing the baptism upon them in my name, Yahushua, teaching them to guard and perform all things which I have commanded you. And see, I, Yahuwah, am with you always. So that's for you guys that think you are alone. You're never alone.
Amen.
I, Yahuwah, am with you always, even to the end of this world that is today. So depression is an unclean, deceiving spirit. Nothing but that. And you don't need to you don't need to believe in this, because Yahusha said right here and in several other passages, I am with you always to the end of the age, to the end of
Baruch
this
Hashem
world.
Yahuwah.
So depression has no more space amongst us. And why did he say all power is given to me? Because the same power we see in Luke chapter 10, no, Luke chapter 1. I need to double check that. Let me double check that, but I believe it's Luke chapter 1. Yahusha said himself, all power is given to me, and he said to us, I give you all powers to tread upon scorpions and snakes. In Mark chapter 16, he said, I'll give you all the power so you can step on scorpions and snakes, to lay your hands upon the sick and they shall be healed, to eat, to drink any poisonous thing and nothing shall happen to you, and to expel demons at your very command. So he gave us this power, and now he's saying, now I leveled up. Now all power is given back to me in the heavens and in the earth. Now I am myself again. I was just a schmuck because I was supposed to be your servant. I was supposed to save you all. I was supposed to die for you. But now, touch me not, woman, because I have not yet ascended to my Father.
Hmm.
So just to show you, Luke 10, 1 through 20. I'm not going to read it, but do that in your own time. But he basically said, see, I give to you power to tread on serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. But don't rejoice that the demons are subject to you, but rather rejoice because your names are written in the heavens. In other words, this should be a common Tuesday to you, expelling demons in my name. You are truly my followers. But rejoice in the fact that you are saved. And I'm going to stop here.
Amen. Baruch Hashem Yahuwah.
Baruch Hashem Yahuwah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you hanging out with us on episode
Amen.
7 here of A Servant's Podcast.
L'chaim.
L'chaim. And man, go ahead and share this with somebody. Share it on your social media, share it on with a friend.
Show it to your mama, to your barber, show it to the vending machine guy, show it to
Whoever.
everybody.
Share it to everybody. Why not? And we appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for partaking with us. And we hope you guys enjoyed. And yeah, we'll see you on episode 8 coming soon.
Yes, people. Shalom, y'all.
All right. Shalom, shalom, guys. Peace. Bro.